Hey, what's up you guys? It's the Curious Owl here, and I have another book review for you guys. Now, I'm sorry that this is kind of going up late. Yesterday I was actually kind of sick, and you guys can probably still tell I sound a little bit raspier than normal. I don't know what happened. I just got really sick yesterday for no reason. But this book review is going to be on, give me one second, James Patterson's Confessions of a Murder Suspect. This book was recommended to me by a friend who had loved the book herself. We were both really big fans of James Patterson, and she had read it and said it was amazing and recommended me to read it. So first off, my very first thoughts of this book are, it's very strange. It's very different than how James Patterson has written his books before. Any of you that are familiar with the Maximum Ride series, which is one of his first teen kind of fiction books, and then there's the Alex Cross series, which is more adult detective fiction, as well as the Women's Murder Club. I've not read any of the Women's Murder Club books yet. My mom has read them though, and really enjoyed them. This is more of a YA detective fiction book because it centers around this girl, Tandy Angel. She is one of the daughters of a very rich family in New York City, Manhattan actually, I believe, and the story is that both of her parents are found dead in their house. There were no witnesses, nobody knows who killed them, so everyone in the house is a suspect, including Tandy. The thing that's strange about this book to me is the fact that Tandy is one of those unreliable narrators. And for those of you who don't understand what an unreliable narrator is, basically you don't know whether to trust them, hence the term unreliable. You really don't know whether to trust them because sometimes they might fool you towards the end of the story, or they just say outright that they're not a good person. What's interesting about Tandy though is that she's unreliable in the sense that she's not sure if she was the one that killed her parents or not, because she talks about how her parents essentially gave her these pills that she feels like didn't give her any emotion, and you find out later what that actually was in the story. But she recalls a memory where she was so angry she blacked out, and is one of the reasons that she thinks that she might have killed her parents, and her siblings think of that reason as well. But it's this whole story of her trying to find out what exactly happened to her parents, and there's all kinds of accusations that are thrown around in all of the siblings, because they all have a motive to kill for one reason or another, including Tandy. And then interspersed throughout the book are these things called confessions. They're not really chapters, they're more of kind of like an aside almost for the narrator, because she might have to go into explaining something. And although that was an interesting kind of thing that I thought James Patterson did, I didn't like it so much because some things really distracted from the story. Like, I understand the whole point of the aside, like at some points where like you're trying to explain something that might not be really kind of, that's kind of obscure and you're not really sure why. But even the confessions, like they didn't really give you much to go on. Like there was a point where she talks about how she hates her uncle, but in the confession you would expect her to talk about why she hates her uncle. And sorry for my camera movement, my elbow fell off the table. But she doesn't really talk about anything. She doesn't really explain why she hates her uncle at all. And you think that there might be there might have been a sexual abuse, or there might have been some kind of just abuse in general. She never goes into it though, which I thought, in the confession at least, and so it really kind of just, it left me wanting a little more as far as some of the other underdeveloped characters. I felt like there was at least one or two characters that were very underdeveloped despite the fact that they were really minor. I felt like if you're going to have so many different characters in the story, you need to develop them to a point where you understand who they are. I don't feel like Patterson really did that a lot with some of his minor major characters, in the sense, like when I say minor major, like they have a pretty decent sized part in the story, but they're still not really like fully there kind of thing, which in this case is the kid's uncle, Uncle Peter. Other than that though, that was really my only problem with the story, honestly. I really enjoyed it because it was a very kind of like gripping story. Like it really kind of made you want to sit through and figure out what happened to them. And I'm just gonna say now, the ending is not what I expected at all. as far as like what happened, because they do find out what happened to them towards the end of the story, and it's not what I expected at all. And I'm pretty sure many people who have read the story would agree with me that it was completely just like out of right field. Like you would have never guessed it. And especially what things that led up to that point, like what had happened leading up to the point, it's completely out of right field. Like you'd have no clue that it would even happen this way. So I think that Patterson really kind of built up the story really well as far as like things that happened to Tandy and to her family as they're trying to figure out what happened to their parents. A lot of secrets are dug up that they would never have known they would have never known, especially when it comes to how they lived day to day. And actually, ever since they were born, they find out something that they've been doing their entire life that has been nothing but planned and nothing but I don't want to like say it because it kind of ruins part of the story, but basically they find something that they've done day to day their entire lives is completely bogus and is not really ethical in a sense. But yeah, so honestly, overall, I really did enjoy this book. I think I will read the second one, The Private School Murders, in the future. I'm not sure when I'll be able to get to it, but I do want to read more about Tandy and how she kind of solves more of these murders kind of thing. And yeah, so that's going to be about it for this book review. I'm sorry if it's a little shorter than my others, but honestly, I only had one major problem with it, and I feel like I've just been rambling on since then. But thank you guys so much for joining me in this book review. The next book that I will be reading is actually going to be a hard copy book, thank God. I mean, I told you guys in my Q&A video how I do enjoy reading on my iPad through my Kindle app, but I honestly just prefer reading hard copy books that I can actually physically turn pages. And the next book that I'll be reading is the first book in the Mortal Instruments series, City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I'm really excited to read this book because honestly I heard quite a few good things about it. I heard that the movies weren't really didn't follow the books as well, at least from one of my friends that's read them that had seen the movie. But I am really excited to hear about this because I heard it's a very good series. I've heard that it was really really interesting as far as all of the magic that's in it kind of thing. So yeah, I'm really excited to get into this series. I hope I do enjoy it, and I hope that I will like it enough to want to read the rest of the series because I know there's quite a lot of books from my knowledge. But yeah, so thank you guys again so much for joining me. If you guys like this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you're not already and you'd like to be, hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys!